going to run through a little demo this afternoon of setting up an AWS step function. Really simple one. You'll see down here, it's basically a step function that calls 3 different Lambda functions. The Lambda functions themselves, first it passes in some information, a package, a dictionary here. Within the dictionary, it says Ernie and Bert. So Ernie knows which one it pulls out. It takes that data, processes it, and passes it on. Same thing with Bert. It grabs its information, processes it, passes it on. And this final Lambda function then takes that information, combines both of them together, and hands an output here. Again, very, very simple Lambda function. Just trying to show how the fact that you can also pass information through a step function, which can be a little bit tricky at times, and then call several accounts. Or several Lambda functions. To do this, I created a brand new account. If you see the account number flashed here anywhere, don't get too excited. It's a brand new, fresh account, and before I post this video, I will delete the account as well. So again, nice, fresh, no Lambda functions, no step functions, no profiles, anything like that. So we can do that. So the first thing I always do is set up several environment variables that can be used down below. That way we don't have to keep changing any names. I've obviously already encountered or input the account number here. You also have to install the AWS CLI version 2. I'm assuming that you've already done that. And then of course you have to configure that CLI. I've already run that. I use SSO to run mine and get it set up. So then once we have that, we'll create 2 roles. The first one is a Lambda function role. Very, very standard. The Lambda function isn't doing anything itself, so it just needs the standard trust policy that allows it to run as a Lambda function, and then the execution role itself, which we attach. So we just grab the basic Lambda execution role. So with that, I will pass that in. Okay, and then the next one is the step function itself. Again, same sort of thing. We have the step function trust policy that gets attached. And then we give it the ability to call the Lambda function. So the step function itself has to have the role that allows it to call the Lambda function. And that's what has that AWS Lambda function role. So again, we'll do that. Perfect. We've got the 2 service roles in place. Then we're going to create a number of, again, the 3 Lambda functions. We just very, very simple Lambda functions here, these 3 Python files. Again, very, very simple things. I'm just using the latest version of Python. I'm going to grab this whole package here, and come down and just drop it in. Boom. There we go. So now if we come over and look in Lambda, give it a little refresh here, we should see the functions. And why are the oh, I'm sorry, hit applications function. There we go. All 3 functions got created just a few seconds ago. We can see very, very simple Lambda functions here that just takes in some events and passes it on to the next one, the next piece. Next thing we want to do is create a, this is just if you wanted to update that. And then we create the step function itself. Again, very, very simple. One of the things that's a little bit annoying here, there's probably a better way to do that, and if anyone knows, they can certainly drop it in the account, but you have the step function definition, which is in this file. What I want to do is be able to have kind of parameters embedded within that, so you don't have to kind of hard code your account number in there. And to get around that, what I basically do is run a little sed or sed command that pulls out those numbers or those placeholders and replaces with the environment variables. So it does that. It creates a temp file. Again, I could have put this whole line, quite frankly, in here, but I drop it as a temp file, temp JSON file. Then I go and cat that JSON file in the step function create call, and then just delete that file afterwards. So I'll just grab that and run that. So that should have, it cleaned itself up when it finished. And so now if I go into the step functions themselves, state machine step functions, the same thing. We can see here, just created a few seconds ago. And if we look at the definition, here's the definition we had. We can see again the states that go through. Very, very simple. And then we'll actually invoke it. So we'll come down here, invoke the function, and you can see we pass in the input again. It's just a little dictionary, as I mentioned. One goes to Ernie, one goes to Bert. So there we went and invoked it. So now if I go over here in executions, we can see it just ran, and boom, you've got yourself a little state function that went and executed. Obviously, this was more advanced. You'd see a little more, but you could see in here it got passed in the dictionary, and then we look at each function itself where it's going running, and so it picked out Ernie and Bert. It picked its right one, which was O, and passed it along. Same thing with Bert. And this one took the two inputs and put it together, and then came with the final output, which is Ernie and Bert says, oh snap, when you combine it together. So again, very, very nice. You can see a lot of details about how it ran, how the individual pieces are defined, which again is part of that much larger definition itself. These things, the payload, how it gets passed one to the other, I find is a little bit tricky. So it's kind of nice to have a very, very simple one. You can even go down here and kind of see each event and see its inputs and output and how it all ran together. So again, very, very simple way to start up a state function and call several Lambda functions within that. With that, I hope you enjoy this very simple demo. Cheers.